Seth Payne, well, Lovie Smith has been fired after one season. The Texans have now had 5 coaches since 2020. Your thoughts on this latest decision?
Boy, that sounds like a lot when you put it that way. I was fixated on the 2 coaches in 2 years. I think that it's not any secret to anybody that things have been a little weird and wacky and dysfunctional around the Houston Texans. I do think that there's been some semblance of sanity and stability, which sounds weird given that they've just fired their second coach in 2 years. Fired 3 coaches in 3 years. I think that the one thing about the Lovie Smith hire that you have to remember is that DeSean Watson was still on the team, had not been traded. There was whatever kind of weird influence from Jack Easterby, who wanted to hire Josh McCown as the Texans were being sued by Brian Flores. And things were very, very murky. So it was a very atypical, unorthodox hire of Lovie Smith. I think just like with the David Culley hire or firing, it's not necessarily that people are blaming Lovie Smith for the Texans not doing well. It's that it doesn't feel like he was the guy to really pull them out of the muck and propel them onto greatness in the future.
Could Lovie Smith had done anything else? Obviously, win more games, sure. But since you just said he really wasn't that guy, could he have done anything here in this kind of weird situation to fix his job status?
I think that, having a better defense as a defensive-minded coach would have helped. The run defense was the worst run defense of the past decade in the NFL, and that's demoralizing. Watching your team get run on up and down the field, and just being physically beat down. That's hard. That's hard to watch every week. Offensively, I think the fact that there's a perception that Davis Mills regressed gets a little trickier than that sometimes with second-year quarterbacks because defenses catch up with them. So he might have stayed the same, but he's not going to perform as well. But I think managing Pep Hamilton again, it was a late hire. I don't know about going out and getting a different offensive coordinator than Pep Hamilton. I don't know if that was even feasible. But putting up more of a genuine competitive fight earlier in the season would have probably done a little something at least.
What about the timing of it? Last year they let David Culley go out, give a press conference. A couple of days later, he gets fired on a Thursday. Now he gets back home and he's fired. The head coach is gone. The timing of it and the immediacy, it feels like the Texans to just get this done and move forward.
Yeah, I think that's a positive development. It was bad last year. The Texans were the first. Going back to Bill O'Brien, they were the first to fire a coach that year, and then and then hired David Culley very late. Then they fire Culley, as you said, kind of on a delayed schedule, and were the last to hire a coach again last year. I think that when you do that, it's a sign that maybe a lot of candidates aren't necessarily all that interested in you, and B, that given the circumstances last year with DeSean Watson and nobody really knowing what was going to happen with him, I think that there was hesitancy from all sides to really solidify somebody for the long term. Now it's the opposite. The DeSean Watson situation is long gone. You have multiple first-round picks over the next 2 years. It's an appetizing job opportunity on paper. Now it's just a matter of selling it on somebody.
Well, Seth, you have plenty to talk about tomorrow morning on Sports Radio 610.
Yeah,
because I'm sure the phone lines will be lit up. Thanks for staying up